The tall, gangly thing?
Hello and welcome. Today I am joined by TSM Kiyoon. Kiyoon is currently rank 9 in the North American TFT ladder. Kiyoon, before we start, why don't you go ahead and just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hello, I'm Kiyoon, who currently is streaming TFT under TSM. And I've been streaming for the past little over a year. And yep, I think people might know me as like a Mech One Trick, Void Stain One Trick, Blender One Trick in the past. But now I'm mostly just playing any comps at a higher level.
Yep, and like you said, you're signed to TSM. You're one of the largest streamers and most popular TFT players out there right now. But why don't we take it back a little bit? Before blowing up in TFT, before getting to signed to TSM, what was your life supposed to look like?
Before I got into TFT or streaming in general,
Yep.
I was just a student in third year. I was just studying, a part-time job, and just playing TFT on the side as a hobby. And then I was able to reach, I think, rank 1 in set 1. And then I'm like, maybe I could just stream on the side and see where that leads me. And then that's how I became a streamer, I guess.
Were you competing in any other games before TFT, or was this kind of like your first?
This is like my first. No, before, like, I was like high ranked in like other games like League or like StarCraft, but then I was never like good enough to compete. I was just like a low challenger, like GM. Like I was good, but I wasn't like really good enough to compete. So yeah, so TFT is definitely my first.
And at this point, you've kind of experienced TFT in like every possible competitive setting they've had. Twitch rivals, invitationals at the beginning of the set, obviously the regional qualifiers and worlds qualifiers that you've competed in for the last 2 sets. How do you feel about TFT as a competitive esport?
TFT as a competitive esport definitely has like potential, but like obviously it won't be big as like for say League or like other games, as there's like variance and it's like not as, I guess, enjoyable to watch compared to those like MOBA or like FPS games. As it's just like an auto chess general. It's like an auto chess general, not the TFT issue. But I think it definitely has potential to have competitive esports. Yeah, in the future.
Yeah, I think one of the things that people really enjoy about it actually is how it's based around popular streamers, right? Like a lot of people will watch tournaments if you, Soju, Robin, these larger streamers are competing. So I think they're still testing it out, but there's definitely, I agree, there's definitely potential. But talking about TFT tournaments, there's 2 tournaments that I actually do want to talk about. And the first one is the NA Fates regional qualifier that you competed in the weekend before last. So you've competed in all 3 of the qualifiers up to this point, placing top 8 in one of them. This past one you were eliminated in day 2. What were some of your main takeaways from this event?
Oh, the qualifiers.
Yeah.
Currently this set's like qualifier scores are like I didn't perform that well because my first qualifier I think I did top 8, second and third. I didn't even make it to day 3. But I think it's mostly like a mental thing. Like since I'm already mostly secured through the ladder anyway, like I don't. It's like this 20 is like not like a do or die. If I don't make it or don't get enough points from this 20, it's not like I don't have another option to get into any qualifier for the worlds. So it's like since I have like a already secured one of the path to reach the any qualifiers, it's just like a different mental set where it doesn't push me to another level of like starting. So I think that's like one of the issue.
Yeah, last week I spoke with Robin Songs, who is kind of on the cusp of the snapshot points. I think he's currently 12th overall for points, but is first in qualifier points. So it's kind of interesting to hear, for you who's basically just secured your position in regional finals. The qualifiers don't really mean as much for you, but there are other players out there who kind of need these qualifiers in order to secure a spot in the regional finals.
And also, it's really good practices since it's like they invite the highest ranked players at the current moment. So it's a good practice.
I asked Robin about this last week, but with the inclusion of an open bracket, it does mean that oftentimes you'll see players who are in these lobbies who really you wouldn't run into in ladder because they're, you know, masters or grandmaster players. And a lot of people have written them off as like not being a threat. But this past event we saw for the second time, like a masters or maybe grandmaster, but an open bracket qualifier make it to day 3 of the event. How do you feel about having like an open bracket in these qualifiers?
I think it's great as long as it's like I think they should definitely have some shots at making it to the NA qualifiers as well. So I think it's like a really good right now. I think they have a really good like ratio of ladder players, people that make it through open qualifiers and through the tourney points. So I think it's good. I think it's a good balance.
Yeah, I think it gets people excited. Like for me, I'm a Masters player. Realistically, I'm never going to get invited. I'm never going to qualify through points. But if I high roll a handful of games throughout the weekend, there actually is a world where someone like me could find themselves in the regional qualifiers, and I think that excitement makes TFT way more accessible as a competitive game. You know what I mean?
I agree, and also like people like might look down as like Masters or GM being like a low. But like it might just because they don't play as much often, or like I've seen some of the Masters GM player in the qualifier were really good. Like there was like no difference between like challengers. So like I think it's good to have like an underdog story or like for them to potentially win. I think it's great.
So the other tournament I do want to talk about is the Chosen NA vs EU 2v2v2v2 tournament that you and Soju have been teaming in. Before I get into it, do you want to talk a little bit about like what that event actually is?
Okay. The NA versus EU one, the Chosen NA versus EU, it's a tournament held by streamer Unid, I think, or UN33 Unid, yeah. And it's basically they invited like I think it's 24 teams, top 24 teams from Europe and a few from NA. And it's basically a team 2v2v2v2 tourney where we play a total of 15 games over the span of 3 days, and then the top 8 team makes it to the last day, which is going to happen next Saturday, I believe.
Yes. So up to this point, when I was taking a look at the standings, it seems like NA, we had 3 teams, I believe, in the event. It was you and Soju, Grand Vice, and
M35S.
M35S, and then Kiting.
And Kurum.
Yep, and Kurum. So you guys haven't quite performed up to the expectations I think some people had for you.
Yeah.
It wasn't the best look for NA, but it does introduce a topic I want to talk about, which is how do you actually feel in general about the strength of North America versus Europe versus Korea or OCE?
I think definitely the stronger, or like looking in general. I mean, I think the stronger regions are definitely EU West, Korea, China, NA. I think those are the top 4 major region, just by population and the strength of region, in my opinion. And yeah, I think those are the. But then I think mostly we just have to wait until like Worlds, where people are absolutely trying their hardest to win and have the same goal of winning the entire Worlds qualifier, right? Or Worlds tourney. So I think that's when we should expect people to try their hardest and see which region has the best read on the meta and is the best.
If you had to make a prediction, what region would you actually say is going to win Worlds as of right now?
I would have to see like how many players are sent from NA and how many players are like from EU, but I think it's NA or EU.
Okay. In my last interview with Robin Songs, he talked about how the biggest threats in North America aren't necessarily the biggest streamers. People, when they think of North American TFT players, they think of people like you or Soju, or some people would think of him, or, these people who are signed to large organizations. His opinion was that the people that these other regions have to be afraid of are people like Nubowel, Setsuko, Spencer, kind of these, players who have really been grinding the ladder and climbing really quickly. In your opinion, who do you think are some of the biggest threats to take the title at the NA regional finals and make it to Worlds?
Is it okay if I just search from the website? I want to see the leaderboard.
Yeah, no problem.
Nubel, DK, Spencer, Setsuko. Yeah, I agree with Robin. I think like if you're looking at like the first, like the very first people, or like the people that were like always high ranked in TFT since like set 1, those are like Milk, Soju, Kurum, GV8, Sox, me, like the old names that most people know about from TFT communities. But like the rising names like Nubawal, Setsuko, DQA, Spencer, they're like all young and they're like really like focused on grinding and climbing the ladder and stuff like that. I think they're all really good players, and I think they're definitely the threat of the tourney.
You're talking about how like these young players, they're like grinding, they're excited, whereas with you, you've been playing TFT for 4 sets now. You're signed to TSM. There hasn't really been a lot of success with TFT Esports up to this point. And, I think there's some sentiment about like people who become streamers in TFT have kind of taken it as far as they can, right? Like you may never be signed to some $1 billion, organization where you're just like only playing in tournaments. Streaming is kind of like the way to make it in TFT. What would it actually take for you to be 100% focused on wanting to compete and wanting to be the best player in North America?
Well, I think most of the people will agree. Like, I mean, it's basically based on income, right? So like, if you can make a consistent more income from tournament winning and tournament appearances, obviously, more people will be inclined to just play tourney and stream less, or not even stream at all. For people like me personally to perform at my best and like not stream and just participate in tournaments, I'll probably just have to be like I'll probably have to get more consistent higher income from tourney earnings compared to streaming. And as of right now in TFT, it's like it's like the all other way around. So yeah, which is why most of the TFT streamers are focused on streaming over the tourneys.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a fair answer, and I feel like most streamers would probably have a similar, if not like the exact same response, right? But you've kind of seen TFT from like the very beginning, right? You've been there since set 1. You said you were ranked 1 in set 1 at some point. What have been some of your favorite moments up to this point in TFT?
Favorite moments, or like, is it like in terms of tournament or like meta or like?
No, I would say just like like favorite memories. I mean, like obviously a bad memory may be,
Oh, okay. I'll do one good memory and one bad memory.
Okay.
One of the best or one of the better memories is I think it was set. Was it set 2? No, it was set 3. I think it was like the NA versus China tourney, Starside tourney. It was basically top players were from China and NA were invited, and we were in a tourney. And I think that tourney was really fun because I like the way it was organized, but mostly because I won that tourney playing mech only. So that was probably one of the most enjoyable time of TFT I had at that time. For one of the like bad feeling, or like not bad feeling, bad memory of TFT is definitely, I think a lot of people know this, but like in the NA regional qualifier in set 3, there was a time where I had double Nico, 3 perfect item on GP. I was running 3 space pirate, and there was a GP from Carousel with a perfect item that I needed. And I think it was Cottontail who took the GP. And the moment if I got that GP, it was like a guaranteed first place, make it to Worlds for sure. Because like my spot there, I just needed 1 unit, and that 1 unit was GP, and then Cottontail got it. I think that was one of the closest, but least. What is it? I'm not sure the word it was, but it wasn't a very enjoyable moment. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think people can kind of relate to that idea of just like if one small thing goes right, then like the entire outcome changes, right? One other thing I did want to talk about that you were just reminding me, people have known you as being like one of the best one tricks in the past. I know you said now, you play it way more flexible, but there is some sentiment in the TFT community that if you abuse a single comp. If you only play one comp, then you're not really showing the same level of like skill expression as people who can flex into like any comp that they hit, right? Do you want to talk about like what is the skill set that goes into being able to succeed at the highest level playing a single comp?
I honestly think I think a lot of the community or a lot of people think playing flexible is being smart or like is the correct play style and stuff like that. But I disagree with that because like I was able to get rank 1 playing flex or playing one tricking a comp, and I think it just depends on what you value more. Like if you focus on one comp, you're more likely to make 0 mistakes or close to 0 mistakes, position super well every single round, and know the ins and like strength and weaknesses, and know the exact like tempo, rounds you're strong at, like how strong your board is, stuff like that. And I feel like playing flexibly too, like there's so much flexibility in like TFT because it's just like the units don't change, they're all the same units. So like as long as you already know the comp and know the units you're good at, you're literally just swapping out bad units with good units, good synergies with bad synergies. So like it's like I don't think playing flexibly or one trigger and comp is like I think they're the same stuff. Just a different way of play style.
Do you feel like the chosen mechanic makes it more difficult to one trick?
As of right now, I definitely think it's still possible to one trick, but usually I one trick a comp when I think there's a comp that's over the line, as in like as soon as I reach that board or the strength of that comp, which was like Mech, Void Sin, or Blender at that time of the previous sets. That I won't lose a single round, and as long as I have 1 HP with perfect item and perfect upgrades, I will just win every single fight, right? But currently, I think in Side 4 there's not like a comp that's like that's strong, which is good from the balance point of view because there shouldn't be a comp that exists like that. So that's why I didn't one trigger comp in Side 4.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, well that's all I have for you. Is there anything you wanted to shout out?
No, thank you for having me in this interview. I think it was very fun talking with the past. Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, for see more TFT content, make sure you guys subscribe. I'm going to have a new TFT 101 series coming out next week, so thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you later.